Stick around to hear the powerful story of Peter the disciple, a story that naturally saves the best for last. Peter, originally named Simon, was a fisherman struggling to make ends meet. His brother Andrew, disciple of John the Baptist, tells him about the Messiah, but Peter is doubtful. After a long night out fishing, with nothing to show for it, Peter heads back to shore where he first meets Jesus. Jesus tells Peter to cast his net into the water one more time, right on the shoreline. Peter's hesitant and doubtful, but to appease Jesus, casts his net into the water and comes up with an amazing catch. Because the fish were caught in miraculous fashion, Peter now knows that Jesus is of divine authority, and instead of welcoming him, says, "Depart from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." Peter feels unworthy before the presence of Jesus. Despite Peter's doubt, Jesus accepts him and says, "Follow me, for I will make you fishers of men." From that moment on, Peter left his entire life behind to follow Jesus. This is also the moment where Peter, who originally named Simon, was renamed Cephas, or Peter, meaning rock. Later in their discipleship, the disciples would find themselves on a boat in the middle of the Sea of Galilee when a violent storm would roll in. Fearful for their lives, they see a figure on the water they presume to be a ghost, but it's Jesus, and Jesus calls out to them, saying, "Take heart, it is I, do not be afraid." Continuing in his doubtful ways, Peter responds to Jesus by saying, "Lord, if it is you, command me to step out onto the water." His little bit of faith allows him to stand on the water and walk toward Jesus. But when Peter focuses on the storm rather than Jesus, he begins to sink and calls out to Jesus, saying, "Save me, save me." Jesus saves him and responds with, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" There's a powerful lesson in this alone, but we'll be here all day. Before Christ's crucifixion, Jesus would prophesy that Peter would deny him 3 times before the rooster crows. Peter, arrogant in his faith, responds with, "Even if I should die with you, I will not deny you." But surely enough, fearful of persecution, Peter continues to deny knowing Christ 3 separate times. When Peter hears the rooster crow, he's realized his mistake and falls into deep anguish and sorrow. After Christ's resurrection, the disciples would be on another fishing trip where they had nothing to show for it. On the way back to the shore, a man would instruct them to cast a net on the right side of the boat, where they would make another miraculous catch of fish. Peter, realizing that it's Jesus, jumps out of the boat and runs to Jesus. Jesus would continue on to feed the disciples and confront Peter about Peter's earlier denial. Jesus would ask Peter 3 separate times, "Peter, do you love me?" All 3 times, Peter would respond humbly and shamefully, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." And Jesus leaves Peter with a command: "Feed my lambs, tend my sheep, feed my sheep." By asking Peter to profess his love for Christ 3 separate times, Jesus is reversing Peter's earlier 3 denials of Christ. So after Peter's betrayal, Jesus responds by feeding his disciples, restoring them, and showing them love. Surely this is a God, for this behavior is not of human nature. It seems Peter has now learned his lesson, becoming a great fisher of men, just as Jesus had prophesied, bringing over 3,000 people to Christ during the Pentecost, and many other achievements under his belt. Peter would later go on to be a martyr for Christ. Refusing to deny Jesus again, Peter is crucified and only requests that he's crucified upside down, for he is not worthy to die the same death that his Savior did. This shows that even when facing death, Peter's faith is now unshakable, and regardless of his previous weaknesses and failures, the Lord has truly turned him into the rock Peter was destined to be. Jesus does not condemn us in our failures, but restores us and gives us a new purpose. Thank you and God bless.